Yes, this is Bill Jones from Freedom's Nest. Today's presentation is an audio podcast, episode 10, and the title and subject is Gun Control is Communist Propaganda and Agitation. Yeah, another controversial title to one of my presentations. As I've said in the past, they all are. I deal with the subject of communism, so consequently all of them are provocations and controversial, but so be it. And today's we're talking about gun control and communism, propaganda and agitation. Now, why is that? Where am I getting this relationship? Well, in the guidelines, and I've gone through this before in some areas, but guidelines on the organizational structure of communist parties, on the methods and contents of their work, and that's from the Third Congress of the Comintern in 1921, adopted the 24th session of the Third Congress of the Communist International, 12 July 1921, and that's a long time ago. I'm coming up on 100 years for this. It's still being used around the world, these strategies and tactics by communist, pro-communist, communist sympathizers. General political party supremacy that you have. I'm from Illinois. I can tell you all about political party supremacy in Cook County, Illinois for decades. And people, they'll say they're not communist, but they have adopted these tactics that are specified. They were put in writing in 1921. They're as old as time can be, and they go back to Machiavelli, his observations around 1500 in that area. In Italy and the republics over there, republic states, city-states, and what have you. They're based off of that, and they go off of that. And they're in the propaganda and agitation area, which is section 4 of the above the guidelines. They talk about infiltrating the military, utilizing the military, and they under section and they're numbered. The entire guidelines has 54 sections, numbered sections, and I want to read a part of 30. And they talk about the Army and Navy of a capitalist state, anti-militaristic agitation. In the pacifist sense, is extremely detrimental and only furthers the efforts of the bourgeoisie to disarm the proletariat. The proletariat rejects in principle and combats with the utmost energy all military institutions of a bourgeois state and the bourgeois class in general. On the other hand, it utilizes these institutions, army, rifle clubs, territorial militias, etc., to give workers military training for revolutionary battles. Therefore, it is not against the military training of youth and workers, but against the militaristic order and the autocratic rule of the officers that intensive agitation should be directed. The following sentence is very important. I have it highlighted, underlined, and read. Every possibility for the proletariat to get weapons in their hands must be exploited to the fullest. Let me read that again, because that's what's happening in America. It has been happening for, at minimum, the last 4 to 5 decades. And I know from firsthand here in Chicago all about it. You talk to any police present, if they're willing to talk about it, or retired, and they most likely will be willing to talk about it. They'll tell you all about the weapons in the hands of gangs. Let me read that again. Every possibility for the proletariat to get weapons into their hands must be exploited to the fullest. Wow. So now you know why they don't enforce gun laws in relationship to the gangs. It's communist inspiration to have weapons in the hands of street gangs. In 2012, the Illinois General Assembly, in legislative findings, found that street gangs are terrorists. A major center of domestic terrorism is in Chicago and other urban areas. I get into that later, that they expand out of the urban areas, communism out into the rural and suburban areas. And that's what they found in that legislative findings. They're terrorist organizations. I want to read the last paragraph in this section, number 30. The greatest vigilance and incisiveness are always necessary in agitating against the bourgeoisie's special class war troops, especially against their volunteer armed gangs, where their social composition and corruption make it possible. The social decomposition of their ranks must be systematically promoted at the right time. If they have a homogeneous bourgeois character, for example, in troops drawn purely from the officer corps, they must be exposed before the entire population, made so despicable and hated that the resulting insulation grinds them to pieces from within. That's the attack on the military we've had too, isn't it? Oh yeah, it's all planned. You won't hear about this in the press, the party press. You won't hear it on, Beck won't talk about it. Your conservative talk show heads, blah, 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 they don't talk about it. It's important, it's vital. That's where it's coming from. You got to keep your guns. 80 million gun owners in the United States. We have to keep that record, that amount up there. We need to increase it. We need to do training of the free citizens class in the United States. Veterans, regular citizens, Christians, Jews. It's vitally important. But all gun control is communist tactics. Remember that. Let me also add on, I mentioned the military, and I should also mention the police. You see a perfect example in Ferguson, Missouri, and what has happened. We have a subversive Department of Justice, and I'm going to have a special, separate podcast concerning that, concerning Mr. Holder. But in relationship to what I just presented, I want to talk about also what he's doing and that department's doing in Ferguson. Big investigation of the peace officer and of now the police, the entire police department. Yet they don't investigate and don't even recognize the insurrection that's going on. They're not investigating the mob and the rioting against honest, legitimate business people. You notice the ones that weren't really damaged were the gun shops. That's why you got to keep your guns. But there's no investigation of demonstrators with their Lenin fist in the air. Again, they only investigate the things they want to investigate. They protect those people, so they don't investigate them. They don't honor the law. They dishonor it by not investigating those people. Where's the equal protection of the law? They need to investigate the police for possible violations. But there's another side to the story, isn't there? Until next time, this is Bill Jones from recapturefederalism.com.